Woo! We are here talking about breaking out of your COVID shells. What's going on? I am Colin, joined by Cameron, co-host extraordinaire. What we're doing
Yo,
today, as you can tell by our title and what I just said, talking about, breaking off the rust. Breaking off the rust of being inside for a whole fucking year plus. It's not been easy, but hey, we're closer to the end than we are to the beginning. So very thankful for that. Make sure, as usual, that you are liking, subscribing, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. That's at plan_C_podcast. We release 2 episodes a week. Make sure you are checking out our YouTube channel. We stream once a week there, Friday evening, 7:30 Eastern. It's a great time. Anything between Guilty Gear, League of Legends, Among Us, Super Smash Bros. It's all on the table. We really enjoy it. Make sure you check out latanique.news. Some great culture news there, some great political news there. And of course, sports, my thing. I have now been upgraded to editor there. So make sure you check it out. My fingerprints will be all over the place. And Cameron, if you got nothing else, let's get going.
let's do it.
See you on the other side. And we're back. Hello. Welcome to our podcast. Today, as you can tell by our title and lovely intro, going to be talking about breaking out of your COVID shells. What do we mean by that? We just mean that, now, in the United States at least, with a lot of people being vaccinated and, restaurants opening up again, sporting events opening up again, just general, I would say a relaxed nature is sort of taking over the country in terms of dealing with COVID. Like, I know personally, there's a lot of people I know who are like much more lax about wearing masks and are okay with it. Obviously, they're vaccinated, so it's sort of okay. But it's so nice to be able to get back out there. Cameron, have you found yourself being a bit more relaxed since you have been vaccinated and thus inoculated against the disease?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at first, I think it was it was still pretty weird because like I didn't really want to walk around with my mask off just because of like how it makes other people kind of uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
But like I guess recently, like when it's late out or there's not that many people on the street, I have been like occasionally walking around without my mask, and it's pretty liberating. It's pretty liberating.
Yeah, I think liberating is a good way to describe it, just because now, I mean, it's just so much, it's so much nicer to know that, like, oh, hey, I am not going to transmit. Well, I don't want to say not because, I don't want to
Jinx
speak
it.
to variants. And I'm not sure what sort of COVID variants are out there lurking that are potentially, vaccination proof or, able to get through it. But you're right. It is liberating to be like, oh, I don't have to, worry so much and be as careful as I was being. And, when you're hanging out with people outside, you can see their faces again. And you can actually see emotion. You don't just have to stare at people dead-eyed. Uh, yeah. So, do you have an example of something that you have done recently that, you wouldn't have done a year ago just because of COVID?
I went to see some of my family. I went and had dinner outside. That was really nice because it's just like I feel like I've almost forgotten what it's like to just like have those kind of like intermittent family gatherings
Mm-hmm.
that you kind of take for granted, and then all of a sudden like you have and you're like, oh wow, like talking to these people is really nice. Like like this is a good time. You enjoy it. It's like it's refreshing rather than like having the kind of like everyday grind that you kind of get with
Right.
COVID. And it's like it definitely I think is good for the mental health, and it's a good time.
Yeah, it's something that I think we definitely took for granted, and this winter I think was especially hard on some people. And I'm actually so thankful that we only had to go through one winter in COVID, because doing two would have been a nightmare. Australia points to you because they did two COVID, or just the southern hemisphere in general. They did two winters in COVID, and man, I couldn't have done it. Yeah, and it's just this thing where we didn't, again, we took it for granted, and then we're having such a good time with people, and you're like, oh my God, maybe this is why I felt depressed so much last summer or during the winter, because we didn't realize that this social interaction played such a big part in our lives, in our, mental health.
Yeah, it's like you don't really notice it when you're in like the thick of it,
Yeah.
like a toxic relationship or something
Yeah,
like that. But
exactly.
but one of the things I also kind of noticed was just like learning to talk to new people all of a
Mm.
sudden is like, or even just people that you haven't spoken to in a while. I was just like, damn, how do I like converse and stuff? Like,
How do I talk?
what is social? What is social? Like, I don't know. But it's interesting. Like, it's like learning how to speak. Like sometimes I would just find myself like having a conversation in my head instead of having a conversation out loud. And
Mm.
I'm like, oh wait, that's not how that works. They
Yeah,
can't read
no,
my mind.
you're a human. You need to communicate there.
Exercise them vocal cords. Um,
Exactly.
how have you like kind of found like the social situation now that things are starting to like open up again?
Man, to be honest, so I've sort of, once I got my vaccination, I was kind of like, all right, like, I'm vaccinated. A lot of other people are vaccinated. It's not that I'm not going to be careful, but I'm just going to do things that I wasn't able to do last year. For instance, I traveled to excuse me, that burp finally came up. I'm going to travel to Los Angeles or I'm not going to. I did travel to Los Angeles by myself. I was on a plane, kept my mask on the entire time. It was, I don't know. I thought I would be a little more uncomfortable, but in my head, and I'm like, I'm vaccinated. This is fine. I've been on some planes, internationally as well. And that's like, internationally, it's a bit different just because, you know, the United States, a product of us being such a wealthy country, is that we sort of have first dibs on vaccinations in terms of like a populace.
Yeah.
So, I went to Mexico, and people were still very serious about wearing masks. Restaurants were closing down earlier, and, people were just much more careful. And it was interesting to see that, because in my mind, I was like, I'm vaccinated. I can't pass the disease on to other people unless it's like some super variant. But again, other people are still very careful. And I also, I don't know, I hate talking about myself, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I also I've been to a bunch of Nets games. And at first, while you were sitting in the stands, you had to wear your mask the entire time, and there were very strict guidelines. And if you did take down your mask, the ushers would literally be like, "Hey, like, put your mask back on. These are the fucking rules." But now they have vaccinated seating, and it's literally like sitting shoulder to shoulder with people like it used to be. So I don't know.
Interesting.
I lost track of what your question was, but it's been nice to get back out there, and to travel and to do things that I love to do, like go to Nets games, see my sister. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of follows up into I guess the main topic of this conversation. It's like getting out of our COVID shells. I think like there are a lot of things that I think we can do. Like if we're in New York, and there's like museums are opening up right now, which is great. So there's like a bunch of exhibits that I might want to go to soon that are really fun.
Oh yes, sir. We
Um,
got to go.
yeah, and like we can like now park gatherings are going to be a thing. You can go to events, indoor stuff that are open. Like we got to get a game of laser tag in with this squad again. That'll be
Yup.
fun.
That was like right before COVID too. That's
Yeah, we
crazy.
really got that at the last minute.
Cut
But
it close.
one thing I'm really looking forward to is sports. Like
Mm.
I definitely want to get into like some sort of soccer league or something like that where I can just, it's like first of all, like because it's so difficult to like meet people these days, it's like just being able to interact with new people and also getting that exercise and having that kind of like team experience that people might not necessarily like have unless they're doing some sort of work type of thing. But most people are even working on Zoom these days, so you don't really have that experience these days. And I haven't really had that since like high school. So I think
Yeah.
it'd be like the best, it'd be a good change for sure.
The life of an artist. Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think it would be fun to join a soccer league. So we should definitely look into it. And that was one of the things that you can really do, especially contact sports like soccer and basketball and all that. They were like
Yeah.
literally putting locks on rims all over the city at a certain point because they just didn't want people gathering, which is a really sad sight. But you're like, like makes sense.
Yeah, it's like you try and keep people safe, but it's just harsh.
Yeah, well, another thing that is interesting to notice is indoor dining and just people's sort of comfort with that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that freaked me out when I first saw it. I'm not even gonna hold you.
yeah, I over the summer I pretty reluctantly visited my father because he was staying with his girlfriend's mother in New Hampshire, and I remember I had so much anxiety getting on the train, and at one point we went to a restaurant and I would and we were sitting indoors because it was raining, and I would literally pull my mask down, put something in, like put a French fry in, and then pull my mask up immediately. And I remember my dad's wife was like like you don't necessarily have to do that. And I was like, I'm just trying to make it so if I have something, because I worked throughout the pandemic, so I was certainly at a higher risk than people working at home. And I was like, if I have something, I have no desire to pass it to you. Like I know what I am about.
Yeah.
These choices are not made lightly. And do the shit where you like put the straw under the mask and drink that way, all that shit. I was oh, I mean, you can. I was careful as almost anyone. I closed ranks in terms of hanging out with friends. I was like, all right, well, if you're coming over, like you're gonna tell me who you're hanging out with so that I know if I want to hang out with you, judging by how many people you're seeing, type shit.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely like vetting friends and stuff like that is definitely like really harsh and like a difficult part of the pandemic. And on the eating thing, like sometimes I'm walking around, you can see people inside eating, and I'm like, and like they turn and you see like someone smile. I'm like, the fuck are your teeth doing out here, bruh? Like,
Why
put
am I
that
seeing
shit
your
away.
face? Oh, that's right.
Put
That's
that
right.
shit away. It's like, oh right, we're good. But
We're
yeah, it's
we're
definitely
we're
it's gonna
vaccinated.
yeah it's gonna take some getting used to, and especially like there's always going to be the problem with now that a lot of people are vaccinated and a lot less people are getting sick. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, well, I don't really need to get vaccinated since that there aren't that many
Yep.
people getting sick, and
Yep.
everyone else is fine. And then you have these people kind of walking around with trying to use herd immunity, but then it's like, if anything happens, they can get screwed, and they can pass it on to other people as well. So I feel like there's still like a moment of caution, because even if you do see someone with their mask off, you don't necessarily know if they're not vaccinated. And that's like that kind of like uncomfortability in public is definitely something that is going to have to be worked on. And like like you're not going to see people going on, like when I see someone without a mask on a train, I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Oh, well, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. The people who are getting on trains without masks, like,
Oh my gosh, that shit.
no, 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 no,
I'm
no.
not gonna lie, it makes me like, I'm vaccinated and it still just makes me hella uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, there's still definitely certain situations where I'm like, not good, not good, not good. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, as the CDC has stated, we sort of have to have the uh the honor rule going on, and yeah, there are worse ways to handle this, but I'm pretty like, I don't know about that. Like that, the one thing I really like about going to Nets games is you have to show proof of vaccination to sit in the vaccinated section. And there are sections that are unvaccinated, but personally, I love the fact that it's like, yeah, fuck the honor rule. Show me the proof.
Yeah, and that's also like a very interesting topic, because I remember this whole debate on like regarding taking flights. It's like, oh, like some like, are you allowed to fly if you're not vaccinated? And there was this whole, like debate about like, oh, is that like some kind of like fascist kind of totalitarian thing if you're making people show their vaccination in order to use like public services and stuff like that. And
It's like, no, you're a literal menace to society. Come on.
yeah, it's like it's definitely difficult because again in the other point of view they're kind of just like, well, this is like my personal decision. You can't necessarily like penalize me based on my like they think on their viewpoints, but it's also like at some point ideals can only really go so far. It's like when it comes to things that are practical, your ideals are definitely secondary, regardless if you think that's your freedom or not. It's like when it comes to consensus, whether you believe in the consensus or not, or you believe in some sort of conspiracy, when the rules need to be set and the majority sets the rules, that's what you got to rock with. That's just how society works.
Yeah. Conform. Do it. I promise.
Yeah, the thing
It'll
is,
just make
it's
it
hard.
easier.
Like I feel like these days there are a lot of people that are very much nonconformists and like
We know
you
a lot.
know, yeah, it's Dr. Fauci, the thing with the mask, and now masks don't work because he at one point said they didn't work or whatever. And like, oh, you don't know you're a test subject for these vaccines. Like, are you serious? Like,
You're
okay,
like,
I got, I
fam, they
got,
had literal trials for these.
I gotta speak on that one for
Oh, I
for
mean,
one
we
second.
know a couple people who are anti-vax and on some like, oh, what does Bill Gates want to? And it's just like, man, shut up,
Like
shut up. I got
that,
one person in mind. I'm not dropping names, but I got one person in mind that particularly pisses me off, and I think you
yeah,
know who that person is.
yeah. Like, but like, I'm not like if you have like if you have
No.
a if you're against vaccinations in general and this is just part of your thing, like I'm not really like I don't really it's not like my place to necessarily judge. I'm not mad at that or anything like that. But it's specifically when people are the
If
conspiracy
you're
theories.
outspoken about it, and
Well,
it's like,
to me it's like specifically conspiracy theories. It's like if you're
mm,
if you're saying like, oh, the intention behind the vaccines is to do X, as if you have some sort of insider information, like, oh, they're doing that to test on you, as if like, okay, well, if they didn't do the vaccines, then people would still be screwed. It's like, don't you think that the intention would initially, even like if you're just like there is some nefarious intention, the first obvious result would be that people can now go outside and interact and the economy can start working again. Like obviously, like if you're gonna go for intentions, money should be the first thing, not like some sort of conspiracy to test you know viruses on the entire American population. Like come on now, like let's let's operate in some like factual reality. Sometimes it's almost like shocking how many like alternative like how people can think they can have these alternative like realizations or analysis on these subjects, which they have almost like no insider information to. It's kind of shocking.
the shit that really pisses me off is like when people are when people say, "Oh, I don't want a microchip in my arm." Meanwhile, they have an iPhone and they don't have a VPN and they like X, Y, and Z. It's
It's
just like,
it's the inconsistencies that are
oh
killer.
my
You know what I
God.
mean? It's
It
like
it it makes me want to swallow a railroad spike.
yeah. I think it's like it's the I understand like there's like two sides to every issue. I'm very aware. And like even if there might be some sort of negative effects to taking the vaccine that we don't know yet. That's true. But there also are obviously negative effects to getting COVID that are very already
Yeah.
known. But like it's the contrarian. It's like people that are literally just contrarians. It's like they'll take the opposite of whatever the majority is saying and then like be like, oh, you guys are sheep and you guys blah blah blah. That stuff to me is just so freaking cringy.
Be
Because
like, you
it's
know what,
like,
fam? Maybe I am a sheep, but I'm a sheep that's not gonna get COVID.
well, it's also just like like you can't know everything about every issue. So it's like, sure, you can pick and choose your issues in which you're going to decide to go against the majority. But it's like when it comes to like all of these issues, you can't always choose the other side because you just don't you're not doing the research. You know what I mean? You don't have the access to the information that would allow
Wait,
you to make those
wait, but
decisions on a
Cameron,
on a wide
they read a
basis.
Reddit art. They read a thing on Reddit. Like, come
I
on.
I know it's like people's burdens for proof these days are just so fucking low. I don't know how to. It's hard to deal with, but
I saw it on Twitter. Yeah.
On a positive note, though, I do see that like most people are getting vaccinated, and even if there are people that aren't getting vaccinated, herd immunity is a real thing. So hopefully they'll be protected. I mean, or not, and they'll kind of learn their lesson. I'm not sure which one is better, but hopefully their families are safe. And
Facts.
it's like we're moving in a good direction, despite like we have the outliers, and it's easy to get focused on the outliers because like they're very outspoken a lot of the
The
time.
problem,
But
I
yeah,
think the problem in America specifically is that there's so many people is that when, 1% is making noise, that's still going to be millions of people. So it's still going to be a lot of fucking noise.
yeah, and it's also like when even if it's just 1%, when you see that, everyone's gonna blow it up because they're like, "What the fuck?" You know what I mean? It's like it's almost like it's abrasive. So like usually those the very like extreme minority voices end up being the loudest, and you see that with the anti-vaxxers. You could see that with the far left, far right, all of that. It's like
Yep.
we end up kind of like talking about the extreme simply because that's all we're kind of shown
Yeah.
because of just like how sensationalist it is. And I have to kind of blame our media for that. Like
Yeah.
even like
Sensationalism really sucks.
it's terrible. Like you look at the New York Times, the Washington Post, you look at all these things that used to have like actual information and facts, and it's just turned into like trash. It's like garbage. Like you may as well cancel your subscription. In fact, do cancel your subscription. Don't listen to those shitters, bro.
Lord.
They're not trying to educate you. They're just trying to make a buck on your like 5 seconds of scanning that article.
Yeah. The people who just like really push agendas, I am just oh so sus. Like, why are you
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only the only agendas I'm trying to push are my sports agendas, and that's it. And
yeah.
that's
Like
not harmful.
that's the way I kind of see it is like if there's any type of like publication that has like one point of view and it's only going to have that one point of view consistently, even if it's a viewpoint that I agree upon, I will not I can't trust them
Yeah, I don't fuck with
because it's
that.
yeah, because it's just like that all of like the world doesn't work in that all of your beliefs can be consistent and everything can be correct. That's just not how it works. You're eventually going to have to take a side that doesn't make you feel good. There's going to be information that goes against the narrative that you may be like believing, and that's just how it works. So when I see something that's so just like narratively entrenched, it just sets off these like red flags immediately now that I didn't really think about before, almost maybe like a year or two ago, but now it's just like it's blaring.
Oh yeah. No, and I think that's sort of part of what going through COVID has allowed people to do is because all of this noise was sort of cleared because we had such tunnel vision, other other things were allowed to just leak in. And I
Yeah.
think that just like, it set some people wrong.
Yeah, and kind of like getting back to the kind of topic of getting out of our COVID shells as we've kind of digressed a bit into the classic political rampage.
It's
But
a podcast. We're allowed to do what we want. It's our
yeah,
podcast.
we do whatever we
Fuck
want.
them.
But I think that definitely people getting out there and like really having like actual conversations again about
Mm.
these things will definitely be really helpful because I think on the internet it's really easy to kind of like find your sect of information that people agree upon you, or you'll go on Twitter and you'll have these like Twitter debates that like people on Twitter aren't real people. Don't believe it. Birds aren't real. But like
Oh, birds are government property, bro. Come on.
yeah, the Twitter people are drones. Don't even believe it.
Yeah,
I'm but
they're all bots.
yeah, but it's like when people get out there and have real conversations with people that don't necessarily have the same opinion, I feel like those are where like the nuance can come into play because you're not going to see that sort of like extreme rhetoric that you'll see on like anonymous threads and conversations on the internet. And I think it's going to be really nice when like even if I talk to someone that might be like anti-mask or anti-vax, like having a genuine conversation with them and like just like not necessarily trying to change their mind or anything like that, because there's really no point in doing that. But just like, seeing where they're coming from and then they can see where I'm coming from. And I feel like just having those type of conversations will be like very helpful for the public discourse. And I'm very much looking forward to when people can like really talk about things again with nuance and details and, instead of just yelling at each
Honestly,
other.
we might be long far gone, but we'll
I know
see.
I'm honestly, it's optimistic, but like, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, no, you and me both, man. Because understanding humans, that's what we're all about here.
Yeah, but honestly, there are gonna be some people that are just gonna turn off their ears, and I hope they fucking kick a rock and stub their toe, and that's what that is. But hopefully, most people will be very, very open, and I don't have to like run my head into a freaking door when I talk to some people. So that's gonna be
Definitely
that's
been
kind
there.
of it's gonna be my optimism for the podcast. Is I'm hoping that everyone can have great conversations now that we've all kind of learned things about ourselves in this time of introspection and isolation, and we can kind of bring that and share that with each other and have a great time.
There we go. All right, we got anything else before we get on out of here? Play some League.
Um. Oh, I guess I have I'll ask my last question.
Yeah, what's up?
Um. Yeah. How do you think relationships will change now that things are opening up?
You mean like romantic relationships?
Both.
Man.
Either, I should say.
I think, well, first of all, I think this summer is going to be a mad run for everyone. And if you're a young person, you're going to score no matter who you are. No matter how much game you got, no matter how much game you don't got, you're going to go off. It's going to be Steph Curry in the finals.
Get them games first, guys. Get them good pictures. Get them, you know what I'm talking about? Show up.
Oh yeah. I do think though that I think people are going to be, especially younger people, are going to be more wary about who they pick their like romantic partners with in terms of like having something that's going to last long. Because
Interesting.
in quarantine, I think a lot of people have not been able to escape from things that usually they'd be able to escape by going to school, by, playing soccer, by hanging out with their friends. And, those options weren't there. So they really had to deal with stuff. And I think that maybe will make people more jaded as to like the type of person that they maybe don't like. And again, sort of just be more careful. Yeah, I think though that there's also, the couples who have made it through COVID. I think there's also just like, that's a feather in your cap if you've been in a relationship and you've been able to make it through COVID. Like that's incredible. Shout outs to you and your communication skills, because not everyone was able to do that. And I think that there's a level of trust there that's like, hey, you know what? When shit hits the fan, like I know you got me. And that has literally been shown to people. And so if you did make it through, then I think that relationship is probably stronger.
Oh, for sure. I think there's going to be like an equal amount of trust and trauma that has been built
Oh yeah.
over the COVID. And I also think that next year we're going to see a crap ton of babies, bro. It's going to
I mean,
be
we're already seeing a lot of babies.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I feel like we're about to hit a like the after the summer, bro. Like
Oh well,
next
yeah.
year is gonna be insane.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
But yeah, I think this is if you now that we've everyone's kind of looking for people. So if you're like for me for example, I'm more of a reserved person. I don't necessarily like I've never really gone out and like really looked like that, but I think this is a good time to really for people to get out of their shells and really look for relationships, for friendships and stuff like that. So if
Yeah.
you're kind of wary, listening to the pod, you're kind of on the fence, maybe a bit indecisive, this would be a good time
Get
to
out there.
get out there, shoot them DMs, do your thing,
Shoot your shot, man.
get them gains, take some good pictures, and live your life.
Exactly. It's gonna be a great time for all of us, I promise. Um all right, you got anything else?
No, that's about it.
All right. You heard it here first. Breaking out of your COVID shell. Hope everyone, obviously, follow guidelines, do things in your comfort zone, but, don't be afraid to get out there because it's a beautiful, bright world, even though it can be horrible, disgusting, and smelling gross. Anyway, thank you, Cameron, for joining me today to talk about breaking out of your COVID shells. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe, rate, Follow us on Instagram at plan_C_podcast. That goes the same for Twitter. We are relatively active there. If you want a sticker, DM us. We'll be more than happy to send it. Make sure you're checking out previous podcasts. Today, it'll probably be maybe a little less than a week after today. But we released an episode that we had been working on for a while, just talking to lawyers who are hearing a case at the Supreme Court, that is NCAA versus Austin. Basically, it's to get athletes paid for the NCAA. You know, the NCAA has long had a tradition of not paying players because of perceived amateurism, and that's really fucked up when you have a coach making millions and the kids can't make shit and have to like sacrifice their body for nothing. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it too much. Make sure you check that podcast out on YouTube now, Spotify, and Apple now. You got any other shout outs before we get out of here?
Not too much, but hopefully we're going to be able to do some group pods now that things are opening up. We can have people on. You might see our first group sessions, you know, talking to multiple people at the same time. It's going to be fun. If you guys want to join, please let us know. We're going to have a closed cast at first, but we're going to see what we can do, and hopefully we can get a lot of opinions out here and have a great time.
Yeah, we just want an exchange of ideas, you know? It's like a damn university up in here. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Hope you're having a great day, evening, night, morning, dusk, dawn. Whenever you are listening, we appreciate your listenership. Make sure you're getting your shots. Make sure you're staying safe. You know, enjoy yourself this summer. Peace out, guys.
Peace.